From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I am Ahmed Ramadan. U.S. sanctions ICC officials over arrest warrants for Israeli leaders, including Netanyahu, escalating clash with court. This and more coming up on today's show. Stay tuned. President Donald Trump has called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a war hero despite an International Criminal Court or ICC arrest warrant against him for war crimes in Gaza. In a radio interview, Trump said Netanyahu is fighting and praised their past cooperation. He dismissed efforts to prosecute Netanyahu without clarifying if he meant the ICC case or his domestic corruption trial. Netanyahu, who has been in trial in Israel since 2020, is the first sitting Israeli leader to face criminal charges in office. Meanwhile, Israel faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice. Trump also boasted of securing hostage releases and defended U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites earlier this year. The United States has sanctioned 4 senior officials with the International Criminal Court, or ICC, escalating its clash with the court over arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. The U.S. Treasury Department blacklisted Judge Nicolas Guillou, who approved warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Deputy prosecutors Nazad Shamim Khan and Mami Manjie Niang also were targeted. The court accused Israeli leaders of war crimes in Gaza. Judge Kimberly Prost was sanctioned for approving earlier investigations into U.S. personnel in Afghanistan. The sanctions freeze assets in the U.S. and ban transactions with American entities. The State Department claims that the move aims to counter what it called illegitimate ICC actions against Israel. The decision deepens tensions between Washington and the ICC, which the U.S. has never joined. Earlier this year, the Trump administration also sanctioned the ICC and its prosecutor, Karim Khan, over its investigations involving America and Israel. A group of U.S. senators is urging the Trump administration to take action over Israel's murder of journalists in Gaza. In a letter to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Democratic Senator Brian Schatz, and colleagues Chris Van Hollen, Elizabeth Warren, Jeff Merkley, Peter Welch, and Independent Bernie Sanders called for accountability after a recent Israeli strike killed 6 journalists. Among them was prominent Al Jazeera reporter Anas al-Sharif. The lawmakers said Israel has not provided convincing evidence for its claims that al-Sharif was linked to Hamas. They warned that targeting journalists would violate international law. The senators urged Washington to press Israel to protect journalists and allow international media into Gaza, saying restrictions damage the United States' credibility. According to the government media office in Gaza, the August 10 strike near Al-Shifa Hospital brought the number of journalists killed since October 7, 2023 to 238. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has accused Israel of exercising incredible influence and control over members of U.S. Congress. Speaking on the Megyn Kelly Show, Greene said no other country but Israel enjoys such leverage in Washington. She pointed to trips sponsored by the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, saying nearly every freshman lawmaker is taken to Israel in their first year. Greene said she refused to join the trips, calling them a tactic to build loyalty. She also criticized AIPAC for operating without registering under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, even while lobbying on behalf of Israel. Greene also questioned the $3.8 billion in annual U.S. military aid, saying her stance was about defending American interests, not opposing Israel. Last month, she tried to strip $500 million from Israel's Iron Dome system and described its assault on Gaza as genocide. Her bid failed in a 422-6 House vote. The Los Angeles chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, is pressing officials in Orange County to correct what it calls a serious omission in a new report on hate crimes. The Orange County Grand Jury's report, titled Hate, What is Orange County Doing About It?, documented rising hate crimes. However, it left out the experiences of Muslim, Arab, and Palestinian communities. CAIR-La says this exclusion is alarming given the nationwide spike in Islamophobia since the start of Israel's genocide in Gaza in October 2023. The group notes its offices recorded nearly 8,700 complaints in 2024, the highest in the group's history. In Orange County alone, CAIR-La documented 57 incidents in 2023 and 88 in 2024, none of which were included. Policy Manager Basha Jamil said hate is not experienced uniformly and that reports must reflect that reality. CAIR-La is urging officials to consult with community groups, including all incidents in tracking systems, and ensuring future reports do not overlook vulnerable communities. In central Gaza, desperate Palestinians rushed towards airdropped aid parcels in Deir al-Balah on Wednesday. Crowds gathered for hours in the scorching sun near Nusayrat, hoping to grab food supplies dropped from cargo planes. Only a few managed to reach the aid, while others went home empty-handed. Several parachutes fell directly on tents of displaced families, tearing shelters and worsening already dire living conditions. Families who had lost homes in the war saw their fragile tents collapse under the weight of the parcels. The health ministry in Gaza said famine due to Israel's blockade of food and humanitarian aid since March continues to kill. 3 more people died of starvation and malnutrition in the last 24 hours. That brings the death toll from starvation since October 2023 to 269, including 112 children. For many, the struggle is not just about aid arriving, but surviving the chaos, hunger, and destruction that comes with it. According to a Gallup poll, 2/3 of Americans say racism against black people is widespread, with police seen as the least fair. Details coming up next. Welcome back. More than 80 Orthodox rabbis from around the world have urged Israel to confront starvation in Gaza and condemn Israeli settler violence. In a statement, they warned that the humanitarian disaster in Gaza is among the worst in recent history. The rabbis stressed that Hamas attacks do not absolve Israel from responsibility for the suffering of civilians. They said Israel's prolonged military campaign has devastated Gaza and called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government to prevent mass starvation. They also criticized the absence of a post-war plan, warning that extremist voices in government are promoting disturbing proposals, including the forced exile of Palestinians. The rabbis concluded that Israel's future depends on moral clarity and urged justice, righteousness, and peace for all. Israeli soldiers killed at least 70 Palestinians, including 18 waiting for food aid in attacks across Gaza in the past 24 hours. More than 350 others were injured. At least 40 people have been killed since the early hours of Thursday, including 8 who were waiting for aid. Witnesses say Israeli strikes destroyed a camp in Deir al-Balah, leaving 200 families homeless. In Gaza City, the Israeli army intensified attacks ahead of the planned ground offensive, ordering hospitals and aid agencies in the north to evacuate. Nearly 1 million people have been forcibly displaced. The health ministry reports that the total number of Palestinians killed while seeking aid since May 27 has reached 2,036, with more than 15,000 wounded. The ministry has recorded 2 more deaths due to famine and malnutrition in the past 24 hours. This raises the famine-related death toll to 271, including 112 children. Palestinian officials say aid is limited, with only 250 trucks entering in 3 days. Israel has killed more than 64,000 Palestinians in Gaza since the start of its genocide in October 2023, mostly women, children, and the elderly, a number likely much higher. The Trump administration will paint parts of its border wall with Mexico black to discourage illegal crossings. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the decision came directly from President Donald Trump. Speaking during a visit to Santa Teresa, New Mexico, Noem explained that painting the wall black would make the surface hotter under the sun, making it harder to climb. She added that the barrier's height and depth already serve as strong deterrents, but the new measures will reinforce their effectiveness. Noem also announced that cameras and sensors will be installed along the border walls to boost surveillance. She said the goal is to discourage migrants from attempting dangerous illegal entries, stressing those wishing to move should do so legally. Nearly 2/3 of Americans say racism against black people is widespread in the US, according to Gallup. The survey shows that 83% of black adults, 64% of Hispanic adults, and 61% of white adults share this view. Dealing with police is seen as the most racially inequitable interaction. 57% say black people are treated less fairly by police compared to smaller percentages who cite unfair treatment in healthcare, shopping, workplaces, restaurants, or local stores. At the same time, most Americans believe civil rights for black people have improved in their lifetime, even though optimism is weaker than in past decades. Nearly 7 in 10 say rights have improved, but fewer see great progress compared with 10 years ago. Support for new civil rights laws also has fallen since 2020. Perceptions of equal access to jobs and housing remain far below earlier levels. The death toll from a brutal attack on a mosque and nearby homes in Katsina State, northwestern Nigeria, has risen to 50. Officials say gunmen stormed the Unguwan Mentau area during Tuesday morning prayers, shooting 30 worshippers and burning 20 others alive. Lawmakers confirmed that another 60 people were abducted in the assault. Witnesses said the attackers also set fire to 20 homes while firing indiscriminately. Police reported that by the time security forces arrived, the bandits had torched homes in other villages and kidnapped dozens of additional residents. Katsina's acting governor has appealed to Nigeria's military for stronger protection. Armed groups, locally called bandits, have long terrorized Nigeria's northwest, raiding villages, looting property, and abducting civilians for ransom. President Bola Tinubu has vowed tougher measures against them as security fears mount. Bangladesh has warned India that any activity on its soil by ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina or her banned Awami League party could harm bilateral ties. The country's foreign ministry said such moves risk public anger in Bangladesh and could undermine ongoing cooperation with India. The statement followed reports of the Awami League opening offices in New Delhi and Calcutta, despite being outlawed by Bangladesh's interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. India's External Affairs Ministry denied the allegations. Spokesman Randir Jaiswal said New Delhi is unaware of any anti-Bangladesh activity and stressed that India does not allow political operations against other countries from its territory. Hasina fled to India last August after a student-led uprising toppled her government. The crackdown left an estimated 1,400 people dead. The Awami League was later banned and its leader, including Hasina, now face trial for alleged crimes against humanity. Southeast Asia's Islamic finance industry is booming, attracting interest beyond the Muslim world. The region is home to more than 280 million Muslims, fueling demand not just for halal food, but also modest fashion, cosmetics, and Sharia-compliant financial products. The sector was worth about $859 billion in 2023, up from $754 billion in 2020. Firms like Mambu, a European banking software provider, are moving in to serve this market. The company already partners with Malaysia's Bank Islam and Indonesia's Bank Jago to develop digital Sharia-compliant tools. Unlike conventional banks, Islamic institutions avoid interest and profit from mechanisms like profit sharing or leasing. They also steer clear of industries forbidden in Islamic law, such as pork production, alcohol, or gambling. Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim-majority country, and Malaysia remain the main hubs. Experts say Indonesia offers the greatest growth potential, with governments across the region backing expansion despite regulatory hurdles. Scientists in London have found a way to repair tooth enamel using keratin extracted from sheep's wool and human hair. The protein, which is also found in skin and nails, forms crystal-like coating on teeth that mimics natural enamel. In lab tests, keratin created a hard protective layer by attracting calcium and phosphate minerals found in saliva. Researchers say this could lead to sustainable and low-cost treatments for tooth decay, the most common oral health problem affecting about 2 billion people globally. Scientists believe this eco-friendly approach could transform dentistry. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.